Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Sales Scoop. I'm Alistair Cole. This is a show for tech startups who want to improve how they sell. Every episode, we dive into the toughest topics in the world of startup sales and bring you the shiniest pearls of wisdom from the sharpest minds and top leaders in the business. My background is as a computer scientist, an ex-software engineer, and I've got 2 decades experience in B2B sales and marketing. I'm a co-founder of the Uplift Partnership and delighted to say that today I'm joined by Kieran. Hello, Kieran.
Nearly did the classic there. Hello, everybody. My name's Kieran. I'm also a co-founder of the Uplift Partnership, and together with Alistair, we bring all these lovely, great gifts from the world of our podcast and our outreach to you. And I'm also from the world of B2B. I've been in B2B for around about 25 years, I think, on or off. Corporate banking, enterprise tech selling, management consultancy, pretty much all the way through. And now in the last 5 years, and a happy journey with Alistair on the Uplift Partnership, helping startups to accelerate their growth.
Thank you, Kieran. And together with our CTO, Douglas, we are the Uplift Partnership. And as Kieran says, we accelerate sales for tech startups. Today's topic is self-service versus sales teams. Which is best, which is better for B2B businesses. Really excited to get into this topic, something that's really important to us as a kind of technology-led business. It's a challenging topic though, isn't it, Kieran? What are your initial thoughts when you think about self-service versus sales teams?
I think when it comes down to thinking about self-service, you don't traditionally think about B2B companies being self-service unless they've got a commodity that they're selling. And a commodity being a product that doesn't need to be customized, it doesn't need to be altered, and pretty much you're going to be shipping it the way it is. And that's where self-service in my head, self-service in my head would be something on Amazon. That's a self-service model. How do you bring that to the world of B2B? That's the big question, Alistair.
So I think 83% of buyers, according to Gartner, would prefer to have a self-service model. But we know that's just not the case with larger deals, complex deals. So you have to move that way as a business. And really, it all comes down to your sales strategy. And we're going to dig into 4 quadrants of self-service versus sales and different models. But it all comes down really to sales strategy. And what we found with having 50 plus startups go through our 360 sales diagnostic, that the average maturity of sales strategy for startups is hovering around 44% at the moment. From those that we see, they tend to be fairly ambitious. They want to move in the right direction in terms of, a combination of self-service and sales teams, but more work to be done there. And that's, like I said, from our 360 sales diagnostic product. That is how we start almost all of our engagements with startups, a full score and breakdown, recommendations, and a revenue roadmap. You get more about that at our website at //360. But we're talking about these 2 scales, right, of self-service versus sales teams. And when you look at it like this, you can be, as a startup, right at the beginning of your journey and have 0 self-service on the left-hand side and zero sales teams. That's how it starts at the beginning of your journey, whether you're a traditional non-tech startup or a tech startup. And the way that we see this broke down is into these 4 areas. So I just talked about a kind of early stage startups. They're at the beginning of their journey. They're not fully self-service yet, and they certainly don't have a big sales teams. What about those technology-led businesses, Kieran? They're in that top left-hand corner. Tell me a little bit about their characteristics.
Okay, so what you're going to have in the top left-hand corner are companies that are mainly selling from their own platform or potentially from their website. A product that isn't going to be customizable, it's not going to be really customizable. You're pretty much going to get it the way it is. There might be some features that you can add and take away depending on your own preference, but you won't be able to heavily customize it. low price point tends to be. It doesn't have to be. It depends on what you think is a low price point, but you're not talking thousands or hundreds even for this product. And you're probably, the people that you're selling this to, you're expecting very, very low maintenance from them, and you don't really want to engage with them because you want to keep that cost of sales as low as possible, because it's potentially, you don't want to make too much work for yourself, and you want to try to sell as many customers as possible. So your market's probably going to be quite big, and what you're going to be doing there is just trying to address everybody with a product that pretty much is the way you're going to get it out of the box.
So there we go. That left-hand side, early stage technology, off the peg, less complex, smaller deal size, lower cost of sale, and then the other side, that right-hand side. Kieran, talk about these kind of like more traditional sales teams and ones that have full coverage sales teams as well as full self-service. What's happening on that right-hand side?
So this is traditionally where I've come from, and this is my background is traditional selling, as I would call it. It's a higher cost point. You've got a salesperson that's interacting with a purchaser. It's probably relationship led up to a point. So your salespeople are interacting with multiple buyers, building relationships, and then selling on the back of those relationships. Deal size is going to be a lot more higher. Your product is probably going to be sophisticated in the sense that it's going to be a complex purchase. So it can be customized, and the customer might be able to choose features. You can change it the way they need it to be. It's going to be a consultative selling approach. And that's what you're looking at here. And that's why you can afford to have a salesperson in the room, because you're going to be charging potentially tens of thousands for this product.
Yeah.
You can afford to have a very expensive person like myself doing your bidding for you.
Yeah. Okay. So those four groups, we're just going to pick out behaviors and characteristics of individual companies in those groups, and we're going to start in that bottom left-hand corner. So those early stage companies, we've got one right down at the start, early stage SaaS. That's a classic kind of company that we've had success helping. They're early stage. Maybe the founder is selling on their own. Maybe they're selling with one other, maybe two other people. It's pretty early stage. They haven't really developed their self-service yet. And we can see the direction which they need to go. What should they be doing, Kieran, to kind of move up towards more of a self-service model, and why?
Well, some of this comes from the world of product, doesn't it? So they've got to be thinking about the way they're designing their product and making sure that their product is going to have all those features and functions that the client would want, and that they aren't going to be customizable. So the product design, and I know I come from a sales background, but obviously being a part of the sales team, you are trying to advise, and especially in the startup arena, the sales team's involved with product development and all the features and functions that are coming out. The one thing that you need to be very careful about here is that you don't want this product to go down the right-hand side. If your business model is to keep yourself on the left side of the graph here, then you need to make sure that your product development is holding on to that. You're keeping, and also it's your cost of sales. Now, this is marketing-led sales. So this is more your traditional kind of marketing. You're bringing people to your website and you want them to purchase from there and get all their information they can possibly get about your product from your website, onboarded from your website. The whole kind of journey is there. There's no interaction with sales. And you've got to have that mindset, that pure SaaS mindset when you're designing your sales process here. So your sales process is pretty much, you're not going to talk to anybody. You're just going to go down this route, and potentially if people have problems, yes, they can reach out to you over the whether you have a chat bot or whether you've got a bot inside the website that people can speak to. Other than that, you pretty much want to keep it as slow as possible.
Yeah. And so down in that bottom left-hand corner, we're talking about, you've got the basics, right? You've got your website, products and descriptions of services, contact information. And you've got, like you talked about, that marketing stuff working hard, FAQs, user guides, tutorials, things that you can get into on the website. As you develop, you're talking about more interactive features, ROI calculators, configurators, little getting access to playing with certain features as that kind of comes through. So that's all moving up in that left-hand side and towards more of a robust self-service model. So let's move up there into that more robust self-service model. You've got mature SaaS. They've added a lot more of that digital self-service features and functionalities I've just talked about. There's full payments, subscriptions, and where you can't helping buyers get to them being able to purchase. Maybe that's a repeat purchase. It might not be the first time that you're making that purchase online, especially if it's large. But certainly that payment stuff is connected, right? Subscription model is online, and you're moving towards a full automated onboarding and payment. And then that other area that we've picked out top left, that is a bit unusual, we'll come back to a bit later, those kind of basic business tools, right, that are 100% self-service, they're super low cost. One of the ones that we use are basic AI tools that you don't need to sign off for. You can just use the company credit card, buying tokens to do things. And they sit kind of on their own there. Obviously, if those businesses grow, then they can head over. Their plan is to head over to the right, grow their business, and then start to bring on salespeople to help them close more complex deals. So that's that left side. Let's take a little bit of time to talk about what's happening down in that bottom right-hand corner, that kind of more traditional, where they've got more sales teams, more salespeople to start with. Kieran, talk us through these three types of business we've shown here.
Okay, so if you think about who we got down in that bottom right-hand side, you've pretty much got your kind of professional services and your consultancies, or you've got some very complex tech companies that you can have. So, those of you who've worked in complex tech, we're talking ERP systems, CRM systems, things that need real configuration when you're selling them, and probably services and maintenance are also included. Now, I know the new world, we're slowly moving away from this, but this business model is there, and it's an addressable massive market. So you can't just forget about this. So if you think about the consultancy side of things, now you've got salespeople on the ground, you've got feet on the ground that are, pressing the flesh, getting in front of clients. You might be using some side of self-service to try to bring clients into your business, but it's probably very low key. The less sophisticated consultancies probably have a very basic kind of website that kind of tells you about their product, not really doing any kind of self-service there. But it doesn't mean that they can't do more self-service. And this is one of the when we work with our professional services clients that we work with, we try to bring them more down the self-service side of things to say you can do some of the things traditional self-service companies do. However, you're always going to be that hybrid. You're going to be somewhere in between, but you could bring customers in.
Yeah, and that bottom right-hand corner as well. I like this idea of these arrows moving kind of towards the top left-hand corner. So we've worked with startups who are in that complex tech space. Maybe they've got an install, they're selling some professional services as well. For them to be able to create smaller products from what they've got, or smaller features, or take out the bit that is most valuable, and then maybe offer that as a SaaS or as an easy thing. So there's a product element there too, and you touched about the resellers, who are much more traditional, but obviously they're having to go that way. If we had somebody from a reseller of ERP or SAP, something large like that, what would be your recommendation of a next step, Kieran, in order to get to more self-service?
A lot of these companies, this is pretty much the world I've lived in for a long while before we started Uplift. A lot of these companies were already developing their own tools and platforms. So they already knew that the business model in the large arena was changing. And with the big players, Microsoft, Oracle, SAP, also now moving into the SaaS world where they don't need the resellers as much as they used to, a lot of the large resellers, or even the smaller ones, started thinking, you know what, we need to start developing our own tools. And they're pushing themselves towards the left as well to see themselves. So when you're thinking about, and if you're thinking about traditional platforms, in the old days, you would never think CRM would be something that you could purchase just off a platform. HubSpot do this all the time. Salesforce are moving that way. There's so many CRM systems now that are SaaS based. You don't even speak to anybody. You're pretty much purchasing it straight from a website.
Yeah, so if that's you in that bottom right hand corner, maybe you're a small consultancy selling professional services, you'd like to develop more self-service for your buyers, or you'd like help with working out how you can productize in order to move to that top left hand corner, you can reach out to us. And the same with complex tech. We've worked with startups who have installs. It isn't just SaaS, and help them create as much self-service as is possible for them on their website. Obviously, you can't go and do a demo of that install, but certainly you can have interactive tutorials, guidelines, video walkthroughs, quotes to work out how much your complex deal is going to cost. So there are tools, and there's a psychological exchange there. There's a value exchange there that actually, if you're providing value through some of these configurators and tools and online features, that buyers are naturally more committed. They've spent the time to dive into your website, your features, play with things, request more information. So they're more committed, and crucially, they're more qualified, right, my friend? And the more self-service you can provide, the cheaper it is for you, effectively. Sure, there's an initial cost of setting that up, but it's beneficial going forward. And talk a little bit about the impact of cost of sale as a result of digital self-service, Kieran, and what that does to kind of sales teams and bottom lines.
I think where we've got to be careful, and I think this is one of the major conversations I always have with founders when I'm speaking to them about their businesses, is, when you're starting off, it's quite daunting. You've got all these costs. You suddenly bring a salesperson in, and that salesperson has been given a target, what theoretically should be the running cost of the business as it is, plus a little bit extra. Now, that could be a daunting figure for a single salesperson. Yeah. Now, when you then start looking at your kind of product, is to think to yourself, how are we going to get to that sales level, and what do we need to do? Now, if you're going down the self-service route, your effort is going to be put into hitting as many people and getting as many hits into your platform, into your website as possible, and get as many sales as possible, so that your salesperson can go and chase those larger deals. If your salesperson is chasing the smaller deals and hasn't got time to chase the bigger deals, you're on a rocky path here, what could turn into a disaster zone. And we've seen so many startups have that problem, not understanding what their cost of sales is, not really knowing what their sales process is going to be, kind of get stuck between a rock and a hard place, not really knowing, are we going self-service? Are we going traditional sales? We're actually not doing either properly. And we end up being nowhere. And by that time, the market's changed, and unfortunately, the startup ends up going nowhere.
Yeah. And so, those in that bottom, if you're more sales teams than you are self-service, it's not too late, right? There is a bit of investment that's needed, and it all really comes down to sales strategy, right? It's about sowing the seeds right now for the future pipelines. If your pipeline's struggling as well, then investing in self-service will, fill it better and fill it with more high quality leads. And, it is a long game. Setting up these self-service platforms is expensive. It takes time. It in itself requires kind of configuration and consideration. So it's a big deal, but you haven't missed the boat if you're down there in that bottom right-hand corner. You do need to be thinking about moving towards self-service, because it is now table stakes. The number of sellers is reducing, the size of buying groups is increasing, research online before a purchase that was already quite high has been exacerbated by the pandemic. So there's three of the areas. The last one then is that top right-hand corner. Okay, we're talking about those companies that have large sales teams and also very high quality robust self-service. What kind of businesses are we talking about, Kieran?
I think I've touched on one of them, HubSpot, Apollo. Most of you people probably know about these ones in the background. You're looking at these companies that have a free offering, potentially even in their self-service, to bring you in. And then what they do is they sell to you from their platform. Now that's for us in the small world. However, at the same time, they've got an enterprise sales team that is going with outreach, that is chasing the bigger, heftier deals, because there's larger, medium-sized businesses potentially aren't going to come to your website to try out your product for a few weeks and to see whether it works or not. So what you do need then is an enterprise sales team. You need a sales team that is traditional, that is going to go out there and do all those things that you want to do. The great thing what they have here is a model where they're capturing all the small fish in one side with their trailer, and the other side they've got themselves a fishing rod and they're chasing after the big fish as well. So they've got this great two model way of doing things, and this is pretty much now modern tech business. You know, this is what you're aiming for. This is where all the new businesses that are coming out there are going down one of these two routes. They could come from the right-hand side, they could come from the left-hand side, but realistically, as Alistair showed you on that graph there, that is the thing you're looking for, that where we've got that treadmill. That's what you're looking for, that where your business is pretty much covering both sides of the funnel.
Yeah, and so Dave seemed to have it all. It was interesting. You talked about HubSpot. The one that I like is MailChimp. You know, using even a paid but not the full price MailChimp version. There's always, even in the menu, when you open the menu on desktop, there's a phone number in there for sales, right? If there's an opportunity, or if I might be interested, it's right there and then. There's an enormous sales team behind it, even though their focus is obviously 100% on their digital platform. Those tech monsters, the Monday.coms, the Google Workspaces, the AWS, they started life in that top left-hand corner, like the basic business tools we talked about, the kind of cheap transactional AI ones. And obviously they've moved across now. So those tech monsters, those unicorns are owning that kind of whole area at the top, like you talked about, offering free product to start with to get you hooked. And that's the direction in which all aspiring businesses are going up. You want your big sales team, but you've got to have digital self-service, and they work so well hand in hand in terms of deal qualification and cost of sale. And I love that kind of jump over. And that's why I like that MailChimp, that phone number in the menu, because that is effectively the kind of handover, right? Your digital self-service is taking you so far. And that handover, that MailChimp might feel like a million miles away for most businesses. That handover happens at different places. So it might be that for you and your business, it's a basic website and some FAQs, and then that rolls into book a demo. And then maybe you can squeeze in a few more interactive features, an ROI calculator, and other tools. And gradually you're moving that handover further and further along, doing more stuff self-service, and still growing the business with a big sales team. So those are those big four areas. We just dealt with the kind of full coverage ones that do start life as kind of SaaS self-service businesses to start with. And those are the four sections. And our area of expertise, where we've had success in the last 6 months, and the focus of our business, tech startups, is in that bottom left-hand corner. So if that's where you are, if you're in that bottom left-hand corner, early stage tech startup, you need help accelerating your sales, then we can help with the sales teams, finding and recruiting great people and setting your sales strategy, but also we have deep expertise in technology and product and marketing. So we help with digital self-service as well. Awesome. Any final thoughts, Kieran, on any of these boxes or anything? What have we left out before we wrap up?
Yeah, the only thing I would say around is if you find yourself, and a lot of businesses will find themselves in that consultancy traditional selling point in the right-hand side, where you're not really, your self-service hasn't got going. You're pretty much selling. You've got a product that potentially is going to be lower in cost of sell. However, you find yourself spending a lot of time on your consultancy, every sale seems to be, you know, it takes forever to sell. You haven't got enough in the market. You do all those things. You know that the promised land is self-service and that's where you want to go. But most businesses do find themselves in that bottom right-hand corner. And there are processes, there are ways of making your business successful in there. You know, you might want to be on the left. You might want everybody to come to you and buy from you. Don't threat though. If you're in that bottom right-hand corner, there is sales processes and ways of doing your business to make sure that you can get those larger clients. You can start your business by winning larger clients and moving towards the left. So if you find yourself in that consultancy way, you know, still reach out to us, have a word with us. There are processes, there are ways of doing this. It comes back down to traditional sales, selling, outreach, and doing all those things that, you know, are never going to go away.
Thank you. Super helpful. So the stat that I showed at the start, 44% is the average maturity of sales strategy that we've seen over the 54 startups that have been through our 360 diagnostic product, which includes a full score and breakdown, bespoke recommendations, and a revenue roadmap in a 25-page personalized report that is accessible through our portal. You can go in and see your 360 dashboard. So that's moving along very nicely, very exciting. theupliftpartnership.com/360 to get more. If you're interested in finding more about it, tap me up or tap Kieran up on email or on LinkedIn. Really, the last thing to do is talk about our next event. Would you like to introduce this, Kieran?
I think we're talking to our people from the bottom right-hand side. It's about getting higher quality leads and personalized outreach. You know, how do you close those big juicy deals? How do you get more of those into your pipeline where you can then work on your self-service business and you don't have to worry too much about that because you've got that nice juicy, you know, few £1 million worth of deal coming through the door. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So self-service is great at improving the quality of leads, and you know that lead generation and lead quality is something that our clients ask us about time and again, and so we're putting it back at the center of our next episode with a real focus on personalization, which is something that we're doing day in, day out, using our tools and other AI tools in order to find and engage with and generate interest in really high quality ideal customer profiles. So real focus on personalization using AI and human touch, and that's in 2 weeks' time, 2 weeks today. Wonderful. Well, look, thanks very much for your time, Kieran. We're just wrapping up now. So I think we'll say goodbye and leave it there.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.